Hey, what's up guys? Jeremy here coming at you live from my room. And this week we'll talk about another LaserDisc collecting pickups. Alright, so what we're going to look at today is actually a new system and then give you a little bit of history. But the system I'll show you right there, which was actually picked up through a friend, Scott Woodall. He's the owner and operator of Vintage and Vinyl, and that's located in 891 Front Road in LaSalle, Ontario. And we did this through a three-way trade where I was able to turn in my previous LaserDisc system. It was a Samsung. For this system here, it's a Pioneer multiplay CD LD player in its model CLD M90. What interests me about this here was that with my stereo system downstairs, I could definitely plug this all in. It was compatible, and it did have the multi-disc CD carousel in it. All right. So along with your tray, actually one thing people probably consider is how big is a LaserDisc player. All right. Well, just to give you a comparison, there's a 24-inch LED Toshiba TV, and that's flat screen, as you can tell. But what ended up happening there, there's your player. All right. It's big. It's huge. All right. And if you can imagine like a record, there's the size of a a jacket for an LD LaserDisc movie there, but look at the player itself is actually bigger than that, so that should give you some idea of how big it is. Again, it's already powered up here, so I'm just going to open up here, and as you see, the tray pops out and there's the 5 carousel. So what interested me when I traded in my Samsung one was the fact that I went from a single disc CD player to a multi-disc one, which was great because I kind of like the idea of a carousel, but I didn't have any use for a jukebox, like 100 200, whatever they get up to, size storage unit and player. All right. So with that said, just to give you a little bit of history, I guess, and give you a little bit of comparison on discs here. So you're wondering probably how big is a LaserDisc, all right? Well, right here on the right, you see your traditional DVD, all right? Obviously, you're familiar with the size of a DVD or Blu-ray. And here is a that's a LaserDisc, right? So it's the size of a record, but it's actually about the weight of a pound, and it takes actually a few fingers to hold up, whereas this you can get away with doing one. All right. So a little bit of history just on the LaserDisc player. Obviously, it's a home video format. It's the first commercial optical disc storage medium. Initially, it was licensed and sold and marketed as the MCA DiscoVision or DiscoVision in North America back in the late 70s. And the technology was referred to as the optical video disc system, reflective optical video disc, or laser optical video disc in DiscoVision. And then later, the player is referred to as video long play. Pioneer purchased a majority stake in the format and marketed both as LaserVision and LaserDisc in early 80s. And then later on, unofficially, I guess you could say, it's referred to the medium as laser video disc. And although the format was capable of offering high quality video and audio than other rivals like VHS and Betamax, LaserDisc never really managed to gain widespread use in North America due to the high cost for the players and video titles themselves. So going back to these discs, these discs here, the manufacturing on this costed about $6 to make. All right, so you imagine back in the day, if you recall these out there in the $30–40 range, but eventually later on, the manufacturing costs to make a DVD were about $1. So you imagine there, even if you retail that out at $20 to $30, you're making more money on this versus this. All right. Yeah, just going back to the disc though. Originally there was a transparent disc, but it later became the reflective version, and that was created in actually 1958, the transparent one, and then branded in the early 60s, and then or patented in the early 60s, and again in 90. All right. In 79, the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago opened their newspaper exhibit using interactive LaserDisc to allow visitors to search for the front page of any Chicago Tribune newspaper. This was an example of public access, to electronically stored information in the museum. Later on, the first LaserDisc titled and marketed in North America through MCA Discovision was Jaws in '78, and the last title was Bringing Out the Dead in 2000. Now, in Japan, this caught on more widely than in America, and the last movie in Japan that was released was the Hong Kong movie, actually, Tokyo Raiders from Golden Harvest. And with that being said, what can be said about this right now? Like, the movie here, the quality of obviously the LaserDisc versus VHS was just extraordinary. All right. What can be said? Yes, there are pros and cons of both. If you actually have a LaserDisc hooked up properly to your audio system, the quality of audio is actually better than DVD. It sounds strange, but the only way to prove it is to test it out yourself and to compare it. Also, some of the disadvantages of having the disc, obviously they're large and they're a little bit cumbersome and they're heavy. And actually, when it came to the storage medium, depending on the disc, if it was CLV or CAV, you could only put pretty much 30 minutes of video on a disc, all right? So what ended up happening is that you'd watch a movie partway through, depending on the type of movie, then flip it after 30 minutes, watch that through, and then get out where possible disc 3, or a second disc, and then put in disc 3, watch it, then flip it over again, disc 4. Later on, though, players were able to have double-sided players where they can actually flip the optical so they could read it, although it did take some time in transferring over. Later on, though, DVDs came out. They're more economical. They're more easier to store, and they're easier on the consumer. Going from there, one of the disadvantages of DVD over LaserDisc was that DVD, if you get a scratch, it sometimes makes the disc unplayable. Whereas with this, you have the ability to actually just very quickly skip over that little element and keep going. So the playback on this actually keeps going, whereas that could stop or just totally disable the disc itself. Another attractive portion with LaserDiscs is actually the storage media. Now here you see Tom Cruise, the Mission Impossible artwork and storage media for the disc. All right, like a vinyl record, you have the ability to obviously get more, I guess, run for your money, where you can display this unit and then have a fold out. It is, if you're a record collector, vinyl collector, it is easy for storage, or you can display it, and that was pretty cool. Another part is that each disc came with, similarly to a vinyl, just a sleeve so that you can store it safely in there. All right. So with that being said, we'll give you a little demonstration of Mission Impossible there. It's actually going to take a moment here. As you can see, it opens up. And we're just going to drop in. Look at that. That's a huge. We're going to drop in the disc. And close that. And it'll just take a second here. Man, that sounds like you're going to war when you listen to that thing load up. But it's just going to take a moment here. It might be a little bit hard to see on the video that I'm taking here, but the quality of the LaserDisc is actually a little bit better than DVD. It's very hard to prove that unless you see it with your own eyes. But if you do own the movie on LaserDisc and DVD, oh, you just heard my BlackBerry go off in the background, you'll notice that it has more of an organic feel. And that's kind of the feel that was later demonstrated through Blu-rays. Oh my god, THX, remember those days?
Presentation.
Now with this here as well, it's with a LaserDisc, you can actually skip over all this prohibited stuff, FBI warnings. That's stuff you can't do with DVDs, so you can skip to any part very quickly, and it's very seamless. But I'm just going to keep letting it run. Now it's hard to tell in here, but you can actually see if very close, there's more of an organic feel once again. That wasn't in DVD, that's still in LaserDisc players, and that's more prominent these days with Blu-rays. Alright, so we're just going to go through here. You could search by chapter again. So with that said, you probably get the idea. Now again, compared to the DVD, obviously this is what became more marketed and promoted in North America and became more commonly widespread. And also on DVD, you could record, whereas with LaserDisc at the time you couldn't. The costs of the average LaserDisc and the players themselves were quite high, so it made it more economically achievable in the long run for DVDs to pave the way. But with that being said, if it wasn't for LaserDiscs, there would be no DVD. All right, and also, if it wasn't for the Criterion edition of the LaserDisc release of Citizen Kane, when it comes to DVDs, they're probably not saying that it wouldn't have happened, but